Lisa,
Yes, baby girl.
when I grow up, I want to be a womanist to society.
Then so shall you be. Hey, this is Lisa Landry. Welcome back to A Menace to Society. I'm so thrilled. Today's guest is back to join us. She is the professor of social work and director of the Human Trafficking and Social Justice Institute. Please welcome an expert, a global expert on human trafficking, Dr. Celia Williamson.
Thank you so much, Lisa. I'm happy to be back to talk about issues of human trafficking.
Oh my gosh, it's kind of turned up a notch, huh, with all this Jeffrey Epstein-ness.
Yeah, for sure. I'm pretty happy about it because I'm not happy, of course, that trafficking is happening, but I'm pretty happy that it's coming out of the darkness and into the light. So that's what we need.
Yeah, it's hit the mainstream.
Yes, absolutely.
How do you think this is going to impact the work that you've been doing? Because you've been working on this issue for decades.
Oh, yeah, over 25 years. I think now, as we evolve as a society, what we were willing to put up with yesterday, we're not willing to put up with today. Time's up on that. And so I'm pretty excited because I think it elevates the issue even more. Good people around the world who weren't aware become more aware and they want to get involved.
Yeah, let's hope so. It does seem like people are trying to organize and make a difference.
Yes, absolutely. And when it starts heading the power structure, that's when we know that we're serious about fighting human trafficking. When we keep arresting the low-level players, it's like we're really giving lip service to the issue. But when we start impacting the serious players, now I think we mean business.
Well, it does seem like we've turned that corner between Nexium getting in trouble and everything going on with that organization trafficking humans and child sex abuse. And then you have this Epstein scandal that seems like it's going to continue to unfold continent to continent. Yesterday they were saying that he had a passport with a Saudi Arabian address and a fake name.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, well, he has more opportunities to hide what he does. It's harder to put him under the microscope, but I'm glad that this is a federal case. We have a federal case here. We just convicted 3 pastors of sex trafficking here. So 2 of those pastors got life and 1 got 17 years. So I'm going to be watching to see if justice is blind when you have $1 billion.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with that, sis. I don't want to be cynical, but money makes a lot of things happen.
Exactly. Like having your freedom for 20 years when we knew about this in 2008.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the thing. I don't think people recognize, again, this might sound cynical, but there are a lot of mini Epsteins out there. They are working in your county. They are in your parish. They are in your church. They are in your kids' school. They are sometimes operating in positions of trust.
Yes.
And they do all kind of help one another because predators have a tendency to protect other predators. They recognize each other's sinister ways and kind of support.
Absolutely. And the issue is it's the good people of the world, the people that go to church and synagogues every week that know they have a funny feeling in their gut that this is not right and they choose to stay silent. That's sort of the secondary crime in terms of all of this is turning your head, not paying attention. Don't turn your head away. Turn that volume in your gut up and do something about it. Report your suspicions because that's really what we need to do. That's why this is allowed to continue.
Yeah, it's people's fears. People have a lack of courage, in my opinion. But you do get in
Absolutely.
trouble. You know, when you speak up, sometimes you are ostracized. You are the one who gets penalized. You are the one who faces consequences for trying to do right.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. And I know all about that kind of fear because, back in the day, 25 years ago, when I was saying these kids are being trafficked, they're being sold, and people are like, oh, like, why don't you go have a career that's actually going to pay you something? Why are you busying yourself with this? These girls want to do this. They want to be out there. And so the stigma was a lot greater then, but it does take great courage to care. It takes great courage to care. But we agree in society that children are supposed to be number one. Children are supposed to be protected. So if we're ever going to show courage, this is the time and the place to do it.
Well, it does seem like there's a nonpartisan push to try to get some changes made, and I'm glad to see that. I'm of the mindset, whatever one's ideologies are, if we can all come together on what we agree on, which kids should be protected, maybe we can build that bridge to, connect with one another to protect the kids.
Absolutely.
What is sex trafficking? Like when you say these pastors, everything came down and they are now sex traffickers, what does that actually mean?
That actually means if you are an adult and you are involved in the commercial sex industry and you're there because of force, fraud, or coercion, then you are a victim of the crime of sex trafficking. If you're there and there's no force, fraud, or coercion, you're an adult, you're involved, then you're committing a misdemeanor prostitution. Or if you're under the age of 18 under the federal law, we don't have to prove force, fraud, or coercion. If you're involved in commercial sex, any aspect of commercial sex, as someone under 18, then our national government sees you as the victim of a crime, a child in need of services. And the people that you're involved with, whether they're buying you or they're selling you, are sex traffickers, and they're facing felony charges.
Okay, so that's when the system works properly.
Yes.
Okay.
And of course that doesn't happen all the time. And, even because we have the federal law, states have to come along and they have to pass state laws, because a lot of times states can't afford to prosecute federally. So they have to pass state laws so that they have the teeth to be able to prosecute. And when they come along and pass state laws, which are all kind of different across the U.S., some of them have teeth in them, some of them don't have teeth in them. For instance, some states, if you are convicted of trafficking, you can actually be convicted of disorderly conduct.
What?
So your conduct was disorderly, but no one knows how it was disorderly, so that you can kind of hide even your conviction.
You just have to hope for the right judge. You have to hope you get a predator-friendly judge, and there seem to be a lot of those. Not everyone obviously is engaging in these activities, but there it seems like there's that blue wall where cops protect other cops, and there are good cops out there who are working super hard and diligent, and they care. And then you have these bad cops, but there's the blue wall, so you're not going to speak out against that guy's partner or that woman's detective, sergeant or whatnot.
Absolutely.
So the same thing is happening where we got bad judges and the other judges don't do their due diligence and knock those people off the bench. And so this kind of continues.
We just convicted a judge here last year.
Oh, really?
Yes. So his problem was he kept doing the same type of sexual crime across women, and they all got together and told the same story and didn't know each other. That was his downfall. We also had a vice cop on trial, but weren't able to convict him for having paid sex with a 14-year-old. And so in my past studies, we've had up to 40% of women in prostitution, as well as sex trafficking victims, report that they had sex with police officers and attorneys. And pastors and social workers, it's people in professions. When people think of who's buying these kids, it's like, it's not the creepy guy under the bridge, because the creepy guy under the bridge doesn't have money. I mean, this is the gold standard. This is the premium product. It's very expensive to buy a 14 or 15-year-old. You have to have money. So these are middle class to, and higher men in professions that are, city employees, police officers, all people that can afford the product. And I'm saying product because trafficking is a business of supply the victims and demand the customers. A trafficker thinks like a business person thinks. And so they're going to take kids, their supply, where demand is, where the men that are transient with deep pockets, where they're not going to be discovered, that's where they're going to take the kids to be sold.
That's so sad. It's so horrifying, but that is the reality. And those people
Yeah.
can cover their tracks very easily because they have the illegal means to do so.
Absolutely. Even as a researcher, when we do studies, you'll read all about women in prostitution and all about kids that are trafficked, and you won't read much about customers, and you won't read much about traffickers, because those are people with money, and people with money have protections, and it's difficult for you to put your research microscope on them and study them, because they have ways to back you up so that you can't learn anything. So very much protected.
It's interesting that you brought up 40%. When you were detailing that statistic, the first thing I thought of is 40%. And, this is online. I don't want to quote a source because I'm unsure what the source was, but I've read this in multiple places. 40% of police officers are actually domestic abusers themselves. They engage in beating their partners, raping their partners, threatening their partners. If you go to get help, you won't live this out. I got a gun. They'll get away with it. I'm a cop. So we have 40%. And then you have that other statistic of 40%. And I also interviewed a guest in the past who was telling me that 40% is the approximate number of predators who are engaged in spiritual advocacy. The priest who likes to molest the kids, 40%. It's the pastor who wants to molest the kids, 40%. It's the rabbi, cleric, who knows. But these are very large populations. That's almost half the people.
Yes. Yeah, almost half. And when you look at, and it's interesting because, statistically, nationally, what age is a man more likely to kill his wife if he's going to commit murder, or his partner? About 42, 44 years old. So, so be really careful if you're married to somebody and you're in your 40s and he's in his 40s. Just chill out through the 40s.
Spend a lot of time with your moms.
Yeah, but it is an incredibly high statistic. So, we are not evolving fast enough. We're not doing as well as we think we are in terms of becoming a civilized society.
I think that's because we don't have the Equal Rights Amendment.
That's right. We just don't. There's too many systems, political system, educational system, religious system, where men continue to dominate. It's still more likely, 96% of boardrooms are filled with men, 4% women. It's still likely if a woman walks in a boardroom, she's there to bring coffee, or take minutes. So as long as we have that imbalance, then we're not going to have the deep level of commitment to equal rights that we should have. Somebody did a study that the more female legislators in a state, the more likely you are to pass human trafficking legislation, and the more comprehensive that legislation will be. The more men in the legislature, the less comprehensive that human trafficking legislation will be. But, we have a lot of men that are fighting against trafficking as well. We have a lot of good men that are fighting against it. So I don't want to denigrate men.
No.
I just want to point out that it's in reality dominated by men who are buying children, who are abusing women. That's just the facts. But there are lots of men who are fighting against this, and they're the folks that need to go talk to other men and mentor them. I don't know that I'm the one to deliver that message to men.
No, I agree with you. Yeah,
men have to do it.
Yeah, agreed. No, I think there's a lot of allies out there, like you're saying, and their voices are super appreciated because they speak each other's language. That's dudeness right there. We don't do that.
Yes, right. That's right.
So tell me, how did your last annual conference go? Because I know it was very recent. Was it last month? Was it June?
No, it's always in September. It was amazing. We have sort of outgrown our space. We have, this year it's coming up September 19th and 20th, so people can go to traffickingconference.com to register. All of the presenters for this year's conference are listed. We have about 80 presenters. We got about 195 requests to present.
That's awesome.
So we are busting at the seams. We've had 42 states and 30 countries represented at the conference. It's an amazing conference where everybody that you read about, researchers, advocates, people running programs, come to the conference, present, they network. Yeah, we are moving that knowledge base forward so people that come to the conference go back to their communities and start implementing the things that they learn.
And you're the founder of this. You've been at this, like you said, 25 years.
Oh, yeah, and the conference is 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I started just doing it the first year, and I'll tell you how I started. I said, we need to know what other people are doing, and they need to know what we're doing. So what is that called? Oh, yeah, that's called a conference. Let's have one. And then people said, well, we don't have any money. I said, well, we're never going to have any money. Just put up a website and say national conference.
Well, you're not lying.
Said, well,
that's what it was.
Yeah, and they said, well, who the hell are we to be, I said, if you need us to be legitimized, then I will tell you, I'll legitimize you today. Put the website up tomorrow. And that's how it started, basically. And people just started coming from all across the country. Did you
ever think in your wildest dreams it would grow to where it is, and now you have this mainstream recognition of this huge global problem that is affecting a lot of people here in America? Did you ever think that?
No way. I was going to do one conference 1 year, and that was it. But there were so many wonderful people at that time and over the years that were all doing exactly the same types of things. They were digging in, doing grassroots efforts, knocking on doors of politicians. The only thing is we just didn't get together. It wasn't just me. There were hundreds of people doing this all over the country and around the world. We just needed to get our collective power together. And so that's what we've been able to do at the conference. We now have a global association of human trafficking scholars. One of my friends at University of Nebraska started the first academic journal of human trafficking. And all of these things spring up when you get together and kind of own your collective power.
That's beautiful. You really are quite a visionary, Celia.
Yeah, I'm just a girl from the hood in North Toledo. So,
but look at what you're accomplishing.
Oh yeah. I'm kind of hard-headed like that. I think that women, those things that they told us not to do, like don't interrupt, those are, obey, those things aren't really good virtues all the time. Sometimes you need to disobey, and sometimes you need to interrupt, and sometimes you need to just do things.
Yeah, you got to go with it. But, a lot of, like you're saying, I think a lot of women, that passion is trained out of us, and we are discouraged from speaking our truths because they get us into trouble, whether it's your mama back smacking you or it's, your husband threatening to throw something at you. But a lot of women aren't threatened with any sort of violence, and yet they still feel like they have to be silent, otherwise they will be obnoxious.
That's right. And I invite obnoxious. I think that's fine if it's in the right context. I think you should own your power and start to speak up and stand up and show up and, do you. Because there's only one you, and you're not going to be here that long. So what do you care if you ruffle a few feathers or piss a few people off? As long as you're speaking for people that will never... I tell my students all the time, if you get a chance at the mic, if you get a seat at the table, please take it. Because it's not about you. It's not about your ego. You want a seat at the table. You want the mic so that you can speak up for people that will never have that seat. They'll never have that mic. And so I said, even if you don't know what you're going to say, as you're walking up to the podium to take the mic, you'll figure it out. But never say no.
True that.
Always speak up.
You will be inspired.
That's right.
Just open up your mouth. Even if your voice shakes, just get her done. You got 2 minutes.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not in it like you are. You are teaching young minds every day. You are right there in the trenches with these issues. Does it seem like more young people are stepping up? Because it seems like when I was when I was in traditional college, like I'm going to school now to be a therapist, but I'm doing it online. It's a very different situation. When I was on campus in the 90s, it seemed like there were a lot of talk back, sassy women who were running with wolves. Like that was still a very popular book, Running with Wolves. And now it seems like a lot of sisters who were running with the wolves got shot from the helicopters when they were like hunting the wolves. You know, what happened to all of our howlers?
Yeah, I think they, that saying, like you sitting on the porch sparring with the puppies when you should be out in the street running with the big dogs. And I think a lot of them are sitting on the porch with the puppies. And so, but I'm very hopeful with the young people today. You know, every generation, my generation was the 70s. And, quite frankly, me and my group of people that I hung out, we didn't do anything. I mean, they say if you remember the 70s, you weren't there. Because it is a blur. But I think the young people now that I see in my classes and on the coalition and involved, I'm really hopeful because they seem to be people that instead of choosing a corporate coffee company, if there's next door there's a fair trade company, they would drink their coffee there.
Oh yeah.
I think when they buy their shoes, some of them are very enlightened and they want seriously to end poverty. They really want to do these things, and they are the I want it now generation, those millennials. But I celebrate that because when they say I want it now, they'll go and create it technologically so they can get it now, and that means I can get it now. And so, and so I'm going to be running with them because they have a lot of inspiration and they'll put the sweat equity behind it. So I'm really hopeful that this generation is pretty serious about the things that they want.
They're a very creative, empathetic sort of generation, in my opinion. But I don't know. I don't hang out with as many people in that demo as you do. So I'm encouraged by what you're saying. How do we find you online? How do we support your work there in Toledo?
Yeah, well, I finally started my Emancipation Nation podcast.
Yay!
So it's for people that they learned about human trafficking. They are now passionate about it. They're committed about it. And now they want to know, okay, what do I do and how do I do it? And so I'm bringing on guests that actually have done all the things that people want to do to fight human trafficking. And it's sort of a weekly step-by-step in various areas so that people can be sort of taken by the hand and shown here's the best way to do things instead of just out there doing something.
That's fantastic because a lot of people do want to help and don't know how to get started. They're sitting there on their couch, they're watching things on TV, They're looking at their phone, they're scrolling. Oh my gosh, that's horrible. Oh, I wish I could do something. They can go to this website and check out Emancipation Nation.
Yeah, and it's a podcast and we will walk you through it because that was the disconnect. It's like, wow, we need all these people involved, but we're not showing them how to get involved and how to do it effectively. And so we're trying to close that gap so that we can connect people to the real issue and then get them going in the most effective way.
Brilliant. Because this is a global issue. For people who are listening to Dr. Williamson for the first time, who may not have joined us last time, this is the third largest industry on the planet, selling other human beings. And we have more people who are enslaved currently than ever before.
Absolutely, yes.
So we all have to come together to do something,
Yes.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Williamson. I'm so very happy that you would take this time to talk with my listeners and me.
Yeah, I'm excited to do it because, again, that serves the mission. I'm sure your listeners are compassionate, wonderful people. If their plate is full, then, they can't get involved at this time, that's fine. Write checks. Checks are good. There are programs in your city.
They do help.
Yeah, they need your help. And if you have time, join the local coalition. There's an anti-trafficking coalition likely in your community. If there's not, hey, email me or join the podcast and learn how to start an anti-trafficking coalition.
That's fantastic. Yes, start your own. Do it yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Dr. Williamson, I am so respectful of the work you're doing. I think you're an amazing person and a hugely great soul. And I'm going to try to see you because I'm headed toward Arizona in September. I'm going to try to stop by the conference if you don't mind. Pop in and see what's what.
We're in Toledo.
Yeah, I got a car, girl.
Okay.
I don't like to fly. I'd rather be in my car for 4 days and get there and see the scenery and enjoy myself than be on airplanes. I've been on so many airplanes at this point that
Oh, yeah.
and I enjoy our country. You know, we got some flaws, we have some issues to work on, definitely, but I love it. I love.
Oh, I love it. I love the country. I'm an American through and through. I love it. I criticize it because I love it.
That's what we're supposed to do.
And I want it to be better.
Yes, ma'am, indeed.
So if you come to town, we will definitely show you a good time.
I'm going to take you up on that, and I'm going to be there at the conference, and I celebrate you and your work. Emancipation Nation, please look for Dr. Celia Williamson online. Best of luck with everything you are doing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lisa. See you soon.
Thank you so much, Dr. Celia Williamson. Please check her out, Emancipation Nation. We should make that a mantra. Thanks for joining me. Please find me at lisalandry.com. You can sign up for my YouTube channel. Support my work by doing that, please. And you can also find new video clips there. They will be coming out shortly. I haven't really been able to promote, but that is changing. Ari Bear, I love you. Watch out for the traffic.